Welcome to Practically Political. I'm Dave Spencer.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield. Let's get right to it. So, Dave, a report from the Committee for a Responsible Budget says that the $3.5 trillion social infrastructure bill now before Congress calls for several of its most expensive programs, such as the Medicare expansion, to lapse after 3 years. And everybody knows that such programs, once they're enacted, they're politically untouchable and will be made permanent. So they project that the actual cost of the bill is probably north of $5 trillion. Do you think we should be more honest about the price tag of this bill? And what do you think the final price tag will be that Manchin, Sinema, they're meeting with Biden this week to discuss, are finally going to approve?
Well, I would say a couple of things. First of all, this is typical Washington fiscal chicanery, right? Where tax cuts are going to be only temporary because they can only last a certain number of years through reconciliation. And that's one of the things I don't like about reconciliation is it gives Congress an excuse to say, oh, things have to end. Then, of course, they always find a way to extend them. So, yes, to answer your question, I don't think that it would end. But the good news is that I don't think it's going to become law because I think that Manchin has decided, and notice he was very vague in terms of what he would accept. So I think it'll probably be somewhere in the $1 to $2 trillion range. And I think a lot of these tax increases they're talking about are not going to go through. And again, but I just want to say one other thing, and this just gets back to what I'm talking about before about Democrat incompetence, because Biden needs a win more than ever in his presidency, right? The Senate has passed, but with 19 Republican votes, an infrastructure bill that everybody wants. And yet the squad and all these other people and Bernie Sanders are saying, well, we are not going to get this infrastructure bill unless we get our $3.5 trillion bill. You know, it reminds me of the Bernie Sanders voters in the primary who voted for Trump in the general election in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin and gave Trump the election. It's like, well, if we can't do it our way, we'll just kill ourselves and you take over. It's just so frustrating. But in short, I think the bill will be much less damaging. And this is where Joe Manchin's a good guy to have around.
I hope you're right, Dave. Your lips to God's ears.